Hey everyone, in this video I will show you all the parks that people have created for their stage 8 entries for the Timeline Park Contest. So yeah, there were again some really beautiful entries for this round, and in this video I will show all of them. So without further ado, let's move on to the first one. Okay, the first entry is from AstroTurd, so let's get on with it. The scholars of the gloom were not mistaken. The evil they had warned of arrived in the form of an enormous dragon. The dispute with the forest dweller had to be ignored in order to defend against a much more dangerous foe. The knights of the realm, already mobilized in the area, rallied in the south in an attempt to drive the creature back. A fierce battle began with the river in the area acting as the front line. The forest erupted with fireballs blasted from the dragon's mouth. The river splashed with shrapnel from the cannons and trebuchet of the king's forces. The battle seemed to catch everyone's eyes. Even the forest dwellers became quiet, carefully observing the stalemate. Could the dragon be defeated, or would the king's grand plans go up in flames? And here's a little note from AstroTurd. The dragon's head is largely copied from one Mamaria's made for a scenario coaster improvement park. Alright, that was one hell of a story, and I can't wait to see how this develops. Okay, the next story is from Bags. As usual, it's quite a long story, so sit back and make yourself comfortable. Chapter 8. 1987, global financial crisis and half a century old park. The last 5 years were global, financially unstable times. The continuous threat of the Cold War around the world wasn't very helpful either, and the Dutch government executed a plan to cut down expenses for the entertainment industry, with Prime Minister Lubber's no-nonsense policy. During a fire drill, it had become clear that the Red Nose restaurant and the Sear Wheel were too close to another according to the new fire safety regulations. It was decided to break down the Red Nose restaurant. Nori's squirt roses were carefully deconstructed and rebuilt with some upgrades at another location in the park. A grill restaurant with a view over the lake was built later in 1985. Fred Lambeth created the third show in the park, where the old horsehide was given a huge makeover. With new horse trainer Jan, a new show and stadium were created. The horse show includes equestrian vaulting, ring jousting and jumping. It was named the Hippiode Horse Show. The biggest investment was finished in 1987 to celebrate the park's 50th year anniversary. After a recent visit to Dirkling Megapark, it was decided to have a freefall ride installed in the park as the big eyecatcher. Freefall rides appeared around the globe in the 1980s, and it was the thrill ride the park needed. The ride was themed after the Dumbo movie, where the little elephant has to dive from the top floor of a burning apartment. Guests experience a moment of weightlessness during the sudden drop that after the cart falls from a burning tower, just like in the movie. The ride is named Tower of Flames and can be found near the middle of the park and close to the Elephant Parade ride. On the 19th of October 1987, Black Monday occurred. The stock market unexpectedly crashed, and Earl van Akerlaken definitely felt that. Will he be able to pull it off, or does he need to sell his last pieces of old hunting grounds? Okay, the next park is the one from me. So here we go. After the success of the home-built wooden roller coaster, James started thinking about how to expand the park. He wanted to have a new area in the park with an eyecatcher, which would be visible for the guests who enter the park. Sadly, the log flume was in the way, so James decided to dismantle it and move it to a location a little to the back of the park. After this was done, work was started on 2 new rides. A medium-sized Ferris wheel and a Condor ride behind it. The Ferris wheel sits next to the plaza which guests walk into when they enter the park, and the Condor ride can be seen from quite far away. This new area is loosely themed to a canyon in the American Wild West, with mines and red colored sand. So yeah, I was really happy with this new area. Alright, the next park is from Fidwell. Dino Park's expansion continues unabated. With the smashing success of the new roller coaster, corporate executives have demanded that the park add more family-friendly attractions, ones that will catch the attention of new guests. Inspired by some of the most iconic towers around the world, Dino Park added an observation tower in a brand new plaza, with the hope of becoming just as iconic themselves. However, Dynagas Corporate is running into some new problems. Government agencies have taken notice of excessive stripped land around the park that was not approved by local authorities. Also, Lil Slugger's previous owner, furious at how his once beautiful park has changed the landscape, is attempting litigation to recover his tarnished reputation, and the EPA might even be on his side. Okay, the next park is from Herbert. The inverted coaster was a big success for Donghua, so Andong decided to further expand the park. Since he was not sure what to do, he asked the owner of a big park in Europe, James Dirkling. James's advice was to build a big eyecatcher in the middle of the park. At first, Andong was not happy with this advice, because the middle of the park was developed already. But then his eyes fell on the family coaster and the boat hire. Maybe ordering a boomerang on Wish wasn't the best idea after all, so he sold it to a small park across the country and bought a giant skyscraper from Andrasik and Swagerson Entertainment Industries. But he knew that guests would not be happy about the removal of a roller coaster, even one that got a little janky and rattly over the course of its life. He ordered the young company T&EM, Titterton and Millard, to build a wooden shuttle coaster. He also increased the size of the parking lot, relocated the boats to another lake, and built a couple of pretty and new supports for the invert. Eager to build more, Andong asked James what to build next and waited for his answer. Okay, then we have the story from Jean-Pierre Nova Silica. As the story of Asana continues, the park got into huge economical problems. The newly bought land was more expensive than the park had thought, and the repairs of the parking garage, which cost very much money to repair, mostly because of the structure. So the park was forced to build something small that was not too expensive. They decided to build a tower with a lift to get a beautiful view of the park and the mountain ranges that lies near Asana. The park also planned to work on a new themed section, which would be in the style of the former company of Asa Steel Company. It would contain at least a family coaster to fit the family park style. The park hopes to get out of the economical problems and hopes that you will stick around. Alright, the next park is from R. Adrian 1994. The previous season was very much a tale of mixed fortunes for Southmouth Pleasure Gardens. Firebreather was met with rave reviews from thrill seekers across the globe, which caused attendance records to be broken yet again. However, by late October, a freak windstorm caused extensive damage to the brand new observation tower, as sand was blown into the lift mechanism. The sandstorm was so bad that even the paintwork was weathered on the new roller coaster. The damage sustained to the park means that plans for a large expansion had to be scaled back, as there was now a hefty bill to repair the recently installed tower. The park bosses felt that the best approach with the observation tower was a complete redo, so they set to work building a much more sturdy, thoroughly reinforced tower, which was unlikely to be damaged in adverse weather. The park also have been clearing the old port area, as part of the planned large expansion to the southwest of the park. The park have managed to cobble together a small new Wild West area named Colorado Creek, which features a large S&S screaming swing in a picturesque waterside setting. Elsewhere in the new area, the park's old Ferris wheel has been relocated, as it was felt that its previous location on the very edge of the park was not particularly immersive. Regrettably, The new area still features a handful of construction sites, as the area was not totally completed during the off-season. With that said though, guests are already excited for whatever exciting new attractions will be built in the future here though. Okay, for our next entry, it's Ricardo Bodo. He actually managed to catch up, so that's really nice. So, for stage 8, here's his story. Maria and John finally decided to finish Kasteel Almere and make it a full-fledged hotel. The hotel, now called Kasteel Almere, holds 100 rooms with elegant designs, and the outside is themed to a medieval castle along with walls and a courtyard. Because it was summer, the park decided to open a temporary summer camp on the empty plot next to the hotel. Okay, the next story is from Savvy Adam. For a while now, guests have been wishing for a fun way to cool off when it gets really hot. Well, now those wishes are coming true. New this season is a huge slide tower with 4 new racing slides, introducing East Coast hurricanes. Each slide is named after a hurricane that has swept through the East Coast. There's Juan, which was in 2003, Doiron from 2019, Bill from 2008, and Sandy from 2021. You can cool off and race your friends on the brand new East Coast hurricanes. Okay, the next story is from Soap and Butter Sandwich. I love seeing his lava park evolve. The rising lava problem has now been permanently tackled. Now the scientists have built a volcano overflow system, which prevents the level getting above a certain point, and they patched up the damaged side of the volcano where the original eruption had taken place. With this now taken care of, construction on the new ride could continue. They scavenged the track from another park called Duong La, but it wasn't the right color, so they spray painted it before placing it on the new supports. In addition to this, the Wastelands wanted to build something that could act as a beacon to those coming back from scavenging. So they needed a big eye-catching structure, so they built up a massive condo ride. Unfortunately, it bent, so it's not as tall as originally hoped for. To prevent it from completely collapsing, they tied some tension cables around it and endured it to another building. With these new safety features, the Wastelands felt comfortable to open up the new flat ride Burning Views in conjunction with the new RMC Obsidian. There's talk of building on the side of the volcano and even over the lava, as space around the volcano to build is rapidly shrinking. But for now they are planning to build around the edge of the volcano as the ground is easier to build on. Who knows what the future holds for the Wastelands. I would recommend some proofreading on this next time you submit a story. Alright, Swag Titties actually fell behind a bit, but he caught up once again, so here's his story. In order to draw attention from the surrounding township in arid Southern California, Tierton decided to improve Wings and Things Funfair's skyline. He added Bewitched, SNS launch and drop tower combo. The tower is now a focal point of the park's lineup, and it can be seen from miles around. Another addition to the park's thrilling attraction list is Whiplash, a screaming swing also manufactured by SNS. The western-themed area of the park is filling up, and Titterton must expand into other areas of the owned land. A couple more restaurants, guest services, and utility buildings have been developed to support the increasing park attendance, but Oli Bolly has ceased communication with Titterton, so further expansion around Villain has stopped. If Oli Bolly cuts ties with Titterton, that will push Swaggart back to his original business partner, Dr. K. Link. Let's hope everything works out, because Titterton just spent 80% of his investment budget on a new themed park expansion. Alright, the next story is from The Shack. After committing one too many copyright violations, Fantastic Land was receiving extremely bad publicity. Mr. Fantastic decided the best way to remedy this issue was by creating a centerpiece that he could exploit for cash and marketing. I mean, to really wow the guests that come into the park. To complement this, he also built an accompanying Egyptian-themed area to sell cheap trinkets at incredibly unreasonable prices. I mean, sell once-in-a-lifetime gifts at a reasonable price. Yeah, that's it. That one. Alright, then next up we have Trumavarium. Lakeland's success is now facing a dramatic turn of events as the old landowners are returning with industrial action against the park. Tycoon Trumavarium and his lawyer Hannah never had a week's forewarning to deter any problems. They simply showed up the day after the initial notice. The park shut down prior to the old owner's arrival, and it was at that time the park's latest addition, Fever Fly, was fully constructed. Sadly, this attraction never got to have a grand opening. The allegations Lakeland are facing is the fact that Tycoon Trumavarium never signed their part of the deal, that they would get a piece of the earnings the park would make. His lawyer is on the other hand claiming that they are the ones facing troubles with the pollution they once caused, as well as the fact that they never gave Lakeland their 7-day preemptive hold until the industrial action legally could take place. Who wins this dispute is up for debate. Alright, and here's the final story from Seklar. The Hilden Plains were becoming more and more popular within the lands of Meridian. People were coming from other lands to enjoy themselves in the park. Lord Seraphan was very pleased with Seklar's work, but he thought there were some things missing. People who wanted to enter the park were immediately welcomed by the sight of the sledgehammer, but the park needed something else, something to behold the park from the skies. Since the big launch was removed from the center of the park in favor to the restaurant, Seklar had the idea to build an observation tower. When the guests entered the park, they could see the tower and could go there immediately to behold all the different attractions in the plains. Although this was a rather small improvement to the park, the guests were thrilled to see how the park looked from above. The last change that was made was the name of the Woody to Hill Giant, which seemed to be a better fit. Alright, those were all the entries for this month, or for this stage of the Timeline Park, where all the players were tasked with building an eyecatcher for the park. In the next round, in the next stage, all the entrants have to build a new themed area for the park, or expand an existing themed area. So I think that will that'll be something to look forward to. I think it will be very exciting. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again in the next one. See you later!